Again, my name is Amy Freeze. I work for Channel 7, Eyewitness News. So for those of you who still have TVs in your homes and haven't given up cable completely, thanks for watching. And I'm the oldest of 5 girls, so I have a lot in common with girls. I also have a daughter who's 12 years old, along with 3 boys. And so those are some of the other things that I think bring me to relate to what you guys are going through right now and what's ahead for you. So we have this amazing panel that I'm going to introduce you to, and we're going to dive right into the discussions. We can use as much time as possible talking. So they have really great long bios, but I'm actually going to give the shortened versions and allow them to expound on their connections to their professions or their sports as they talk. So first of all, we have Allie Love. She's an in-arena host at all the Brooklyn Nets games. She's also a model, a host, commercial dancer, an amazing fitness trainer, and she's performed with the New York Knicks and toured in contemporary ballet. So we welcome Allie. Karen Hoffman-Lintz. Karen is an amazing lawyer. She was named by Sports Journal as a 2016 Power Player in Sports Law and earned a spot on its 2013 40 Under 40 list, so pretty impressive there. She's worked extensively in all the major sports leagues, including the NCAA, NFL, NBA, and NHL, and she was a 3-sport athlete in high school as well. And is Maddie anywhere? No. No. Next up we have, so give a round of applause for Karen. Becky Burleigh is the women's head coach, soccer coach at the University of Florida. She's the founding coach of the program there. 23 seasons. She has led the Gators to all kinds of championships, including an NCAA championship. She has a 77% winning percentage. She's the 4th winningest coach among all NCAA Division I active coaches. Really impressive career in leading female athletes. So welcome, Becky. We have Erin Shea. She's a partner in Ernst & Young, lifelong athlete. She has provided lots of financial information in her career, but in high school, she was a 3-sport athlete. So can you imagine doing more than one sport that you're currently doing? And she added a 4th sport as an adult, which was golf. And she got her MBA from Columbia University. Welcome, Erin. And we've got Dana Vollmer, one of the most decorated female U.S. Olympians of all time. 5 gold medals, you guys. Is that incredible? At 3 different Olympic games. But I am most impressed by her competition in 2016 when she became the first ever mother to win a gold medal in USA swimming history. And we're going to be joined by one of the panelists, so she's going to pop onto the stage as soon as she gets here, and that's Carolina Rivera. She's a New York City Council member. She knows about policy and women's sports. She's been an athlete herself. She played high school basketball and softball, and she's a big New York Knicks fan. So we're going to welcome her as we go. I want to kick off the panel by starting with a question, and I'll give my input as we start, but how do you, as a student, as a person who wants to balance both fitness and other things in your life, like friends and games and movies and Snapchat or whatever else is going on in your life, how do you balance it? For me, people say to me, you're a single mom with 4 kids and you work full time. How do you do that? How do you balance everything? Well, I let them in on the secret. I'm never balanced. It's never even, because if we're talking about balance, that would be a circle where everybody gets an equal amount. I'm terrible at balancing things. I'm not good at balancing. What I'm excellent at is prioritizing. So when the priority is my son's splinter in his finger, he's 9, and we're right before school, and I really want to get ready for work, and I've got a million other things going, the priority is getting the splinter out. But if it's Sunday, my priority is not to take the kids to different sporting activities, instead it's to be at church. And I'm always to work on time, so when the clock strikes that, I'm present where I'm supposed to be for my boss. I never tell my boss, though, that he's not a priority. Can you not record that part? You always say the person that you're dealing with at the time is a priority. Why are they a priority? Because they're a priority at that time. And everybody gets their time, and so you have to be able to recognize in the moment what's the most important thing and be able to shift your life accordingly. That's me. I'm going to give it to Allie and kind of pass it down, and we'll go into some other things. Sounds great. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for coming out. So again, my name is Allie Love. I would say, had more of like a versatile career. I didn't have a vertical career, so amongst the things that was right off, I'm currently the host of the Brooklyn Nets. I'm a Peloton instructor that's broadcast, cycling broadcast across the country. I own a company that empowers women. We do events monthly. And then I'm a Divas Global Ambassador. That means I work closely with the brand. I'm one of 8 women that travel with the brand and represent what women in fitness and in sports should look like and what they think. And then I also, again, model one other thing. So in my career, in my careers, there is no concept of balance. However, what I can say is that if you're looking at things, and I know you mentioned it being circular, if you're looking at things, and you talked about prioritizing, I would say it's one of those things of what's important that day. And I wouldn't say just like in that moment or where you are, it's more so that day, what is your main focus, what is your objective? And I live my life every day, it's different. That's why I have so many careers. So for example, Monday is my quote-unquote day off. However, that's my day to work on my company, Love Squad. That's when I give my full attention to Love Squad for at least 6 hours in that day. Tuesday, I teach a few classes at Peloton and I might have a game. So once that means I'm an athlete that day. I'm focusing on what I'm eating, how I'm eating, I'm training, I'm taking a class, I'm teaching classes, and then I'm going to step onto the court and I'm going to be around amongst athletes and represent the brand. So it's one of those things where I would say my advice is just like take it day by day and break down what's your priority, what's your objective that day, and how can you execute that completely.
I'm Karen Lynn. It's so great to see all of you out here. I think all of us have similarly busy lives that we have to spend a lot of time prioritizing, but I want to talk a little bit more to you guys at your age about prioritizing. I always found that when I was in season, and for me in high school that was year-round, but in college it was just basketball season, so I did have the late spring and the summers off. In season, I was much more organized. I did a much better job with schoolwork, and because you just have to be regimented about it. You guys are all here because you want to be athletes, because you see the power of sports in your life, and you need to make sure that you're fitting it in and you're fitting everything else in too. So when you have practice, you need to know, do I have to do my homework beforehand? Do I have to do it afterwards? Do I have a test later in this week, but I have a game tomorrow night and I won't be able to study, so I better study tonight? You really need to think 3 steps ahead when you're as busy as you guys are so that you can fit it all in. That's what always helped me, and it still helps me today as an adult when I look at my calendar and I think, what's coming up, what do I need to deal with, what can I do now, and what is the priority, or what can I push off? So just think about getting yourself super organized so that you can fit it all in and still have time for friends and all the other things that you want to do.
Hi, again, thanks for being here and taking time out of your schedule, which is really busy, to come to this. My name is Becky Burleigh. I coach soccer at Florida. And one of the things that I would tell you is just make sure you're doing what you love. You know, like picking your sports or your priorities or your activities based on the things that you really enjoy doing. Not because you've always done it, not because your parents want you to do it, but it's because it's something that you really enjoy and you want to put time into it. Because it's really difficult to be good at something that you don't love. And I think sports, although it does take up a lot of time, we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow, about the sacrifices you make, but how many of you have ever missed a social event because of your sport? Okay, so if you're okay with those sacrifices, if you're like, well, you know what, I really enjoy what I'm doing, so I'm willing to make that sacrifice, then you need to keep doing your sport. If it gets to the point where you're thinking like, wow, these are a lot of sacrifices and I'm not sure I want to make all these sacrifices, then it's a time to evaluate whether it's what you want to continue to do. But I will tell you that the sacrifice isn't the sport itself, it's really what you learn from the sport and what you take with you. And everybody on this panel can tell you how much they've taken from their sports participation. So it doesn't mean that just because like this week it's hard, like, oh, I don't love it this week, because we've all had moments where we didn't love it this week. It's more about the big picture of what you're doing in your sport, what you're taking from your sport and carrying it forward, and how that affects you the rest of your life.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Shea. I'm a tax partner at Ernst & Young. I'm the head of our Professional Women's Network, which allows our executives to connect internally and externally. And I'm also involved with EY's Women's Business Athlete Program, which is a very new program that connects some of the Olympians and retiring professional athletes into the business world and entrepreneurship. So I played 3 sports in high school, and then I played tennis at Georgetown, and it's kind of the benefit of going halfway down the middle. Everything someone said resonates with me, but I was always much better when I was in season. I felt that I was on point, and you knew what you had to do, and the juggling and the prioritization, those things really rang true. And when I was, like a lot of sports in college, there's not a lot of down months, but there'd be like one down month and I was flailing about, didn't know what I had to prioritize and thought it would just all somehow get done and nothing got done. So I think you guys know that when you're busier, you kind of have to think a couple steps ahead. And I think what you were just saying, Becky, is really important too. If you love what you're doing, you have to think about, it's not a sacrifice, it's this, my priority is I want to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and this is what I have to do X, Y, and Z. And so it doesn't feel like giving something up for something, you're choosing something versus giving up something else. So I think it's, the prioritization and doing what you love. I think that really resonates with me.
Hi everyone, I'm Dana Vollmer. And first off, I love all the swim bags that are here in this panel. How many of you guys are swimmers? Oh, right. So as you guys know, we don't really have an off season. We swim all the time. With that, definitely what everybody said, and prioritizing what's important to you is extremely important. And I think for me in school, it was really about time management and thinking ahead on what's coming in that week, all the practice times. We get up really early. How many of you guys swim doubles twice a day? No, once a day? A couple times a week. Awesome. All right. Well, but when you're in school, it's like I would get homework done on times between classes, or you have that 10 minutes when one class is kind of winding down, and instead of just sitting there chit-chatting, I would get that night's homework done, or at least started when the lesson was fresh in my mind. Or I found with friends that my friend group became the members of my team. And they were all extremely dedicated, motivated women that all had the same goals in mind. And when you're surrounded by women that all are keeping you to that standard, then almost all of them are missing the social events. Or we create our own social events when it fits into the swim schedule. And also, I had a lot of friends that weren't swimmers. And I found that, especially in high school, the friends that supported me and truly loved me and wanted me to succeed did not make me feel bad about missing social events or not going to the movies with them one night, because they supported me and knew what I wanted to do, and they are still my friends today. And there were people that would try to make me feel bad or say that that I wasn't a true friend because I was committed to my sport. And that's when we need to consider who our real friends are and really surround ourselves with supportive people.
Hi everyone, I'm Councilwoman Carlina Rivera. So I made it onto the stage, and that's a buzzer beater. And I'm really excited to be here. So I am in politics. I am an elected official. I work in government. And so maybe you're wondering what that has to do with sports. When I was growing up, I played basketball and I played softball. And I played in multiple tournaments. I played in the Cage in West 4th Street. I played uptown in Harlem. I played in Asphalt Green. I played everywhere. And there was always a possibility that because I was so busy and constantly playing, that there was a chance that I was actually going to play in a tournament on a team with somebody who I had already played against. So I say that to tell you that one of the best things that I took from playing sports was just knowing that you never know when you're going to be, when someone is going to be your teammate, when you're going to have to work with the other side. And that's very relevant in politics. You're crossing the line, you're working with the other party. I think when it comes to sports specifically, it really does keep you on track. I'm not a swimmer, I swim for survival. But the few sports I did play, it's because I tried everything. I tried swimming, I tried synchronized swimming. I tried fencing, I did belly dancing, I did badminton, I played ping pong, pool, everything. And it was just a try. Now, I kicked and screamed most of the way, but it was a couple of things why I'm glad that I did it. One, it was to keep me busy and to keep me out of trouble. And the other was that I met so many incredible people, and I'm able to take that experience into so many spaces. When you're elected official, you're invited into these incredible places and parties and events and pretty serious gatherings, and I'm always able to relate to someone because I tried, because I had the experience. So I say that to say, I know sometimes it's a little bit risky to try something you're uncomfortable with, but I think it's really, really important. There were two things that my coach would always tell me. The first thing was, Carlina, what are you doing out there? And maybe I wasn't quite focused, or maybe I wasn't quite listening, but that always kept me on point and it kept me on track. And even now, as I'm running around trying to balance my schedule, and I've been going since 8 a.m., and I had a triple header today, I just think, all right, what am I doing out here? Like, what is the mission? What is the purpose? Where's my team? Are we ready? And then we just go into it. What I love about basketball, and I'm going to focus a little bit on basketball today, is that it's very synchronized, it's very choreographed, but there's also improv to it. And I think that for me, that's pretty much how I'm living life as a politician. The second thing that he would tell me is to have fun. So if you're not having fun, think about what you're doing, talk to your coach, talk to your teammates, and just make sure that you're having fun. I learned so much from being on a team. I played on mostly girls' teams. And it didn't stop me from going to an all-girls high school. I thought about going to an all-girls university. The camaraderie and the solidarity that you feel when you're with women, it is so, so important. Because right now, I'm a member of a 51-member body. There's 51 members of the city council, and we represent 51 districts across the 5 boroughs. Do you know how many women there are? 11. That is less than 10 and 15 years ago. We don't have equity and representation. So I say that because how blessed I was to have strong women in my life, coaches, my mom, my councilwoman, my congresswoman, and we don't even have parity when it comes to government. So I'm so glad you're here. This is so wonderful to see. I have a lot of flashbacks. Obviously, we're in a gym. And really just stay true to your heart. That's the best thing I think about sports, is that it takes so much of your head and of your heart, and that's going to carry you through whatever you do.
Thank you. So I'm just going to kind of dive into some questions particular to each of our panelists. I'm going to actually start with you, Becky. If you'll remember, I said that Becky's been coaching for 23 seasons in Florida. So I can only imagine how many athletes that you've had under your team. But as you look at the women who've come and gone, the girls who've come and gone, everything from championships to injuries, what have you seen girls develop from an organized sport and being sort of regimented in the athletic event they want to do? And what do you look for at high school going into college? So kind of a balance of maybe some highs and lows that you've seen happen, and then also what are we getting out of this? What is this investment?
Well, I think the beauty of being in sports is that you have the highs and the lows. And I can tell you, one of the first times I ever played soccer, I started kind of late. I was 10 years old. We moved from Massachusetts to Florida, and where I lived in Massachusetts, there was no soccer. So when we moved to Florida, there was. And I joined this team, and on our team at age 10, everybody had to rotate in to be the goalkeeper, because there wasn't just one person that did that. So we were playing in like the city championship, and it was the first half we were just killing this team. We were killing them, but we couldn't score. So it's 0-0, but we're down there in the whole half. And then at halftime, the coach said to me, well, it's your chance to be the goalkeeper now. And I'm like, I don't want to be in goal. It's so boring back there. Like, nothing's happening. So he's like, well, it's your turn. You have to go in goal. So I went in goal, and then we lost 1-0. And so at the end of the game, they were giving us like our little second place medals, and the coach handed me mine. He said, it got exciting, didn't it? And I was like, yeah, it kind of did. But the point of that story is that, you just learn to deal with the highs and lows. You learn resilience. You learn how to bounce back when things don't go your way. When you're sitting on the bench, you learn how to be a good teammate. When you're starting, you learn how to be humble. There's so many things that you learn as you go through sports, and having seen like the top players, like Abby Wambach played at Florida. Obviously, she's the leading goal scorer in all of soccer, men's, women's, international soccer. And she's had her highs and lows in soccer. So you think that, somebody of that stature, they must have only had highs. That's not true. I think we all go through that. And what's really cool about that, going through that with a group of strong women, is that it's not like your regular friendships. Your regular friendships have some ups and downs, of course, but like, it's not like in the heat of the moment with all this emotion on the line and a game that you're trying to win. And it just makes things deeper. And I think that's what's the amazing part and connection of sports, is just that. And I would tell you what I look for is, I love going to watch teams play when they're losing. And you might think that's a little weird, but it's because I want to see, what are you like when you are not in your glory? What are you like when things are stacked against you? I like to see how people communicate with their teammates. I like to see how people act when they're trying to raise their teammates, not when everything is going great. I look for things like, if somebody makes a mistake, do they sort of hide a little bit and not want the ball anymore, or do they really get active and try to make a difference? Maybe somebody's passing is terrible. We'll ask players on our team, how many of you ever passed the ball to the other team? Everybody raised their hand. We've all passed the ball to the other team. And nobody was trying to pass the ball to the other team when they did it. So it's like, what happens next? How quickly do you do the next right thing? And that's one of the things that we really try to take a look at in our recruiting. And I think our recruiting is a little bit different in that sense, because I don't care what your accolades are. I don't care what other coaches think you are. I want to see for myself how you react to situations that occur. And I think that's what's going to carry you through, like what we talked about before, the lessons you take from the sport. What's going to happen when you're dealing with a breakup in your relationship? How are you going to bounce back from that? How are you going to deal with getting a bad grade? All those kind of things you can take from your sport participation.
Thank you. Karen, we're going to move right into talking about leadership. You were the team captain when you were at Johns Hopkins. And, talking about being a leader on a team, and also the other roles, because as well as being a leader, you also see the rest of the team and how their dynamics shift. So maybe speaking to the important role that the entire team plays. I mean, even in a sport like swimming, you're coming together as a team for points during conference and things like that. So there's an individual component, but there definitely is that team aspect as well.
Sure. So I was a captain for 2 years for my basketball team in college, and I'm not the rah-rah, really out there in people's face kind of captain. That's not my personality. I'm sort of the quiet, plodding person, even in my job now, who just does their best and tries to lead by example. And so if you see me out there busting my butt on the line, running, we did 17s. I don't know if any of you are basketball players, but you'd run 17 laps on the basketball court. And if you didn't do it in the right amount of time, you were right back on the line doing it again. No matter how tired I was, I would always try and be first, because I wanted to lead my team. And I thought the way to do it was to lead by example. And that's a big part of the team. You look around at your teammates and see how they're handling things. And, you know, if everybody else is trying, you feel bad about not trying your best. So I think that's one important way to lead. Another way is to really pick people up when you see that they are having a difficult time, to talk them through it, to not always have to win necessarily that race, but to be next to them, to pull them along and show them that your teammates matter to you. And that translates immensely into life after college and life after organized sports, right? Because when you're in the workplace, you need to know that the team that you have can rely on you, and that they know and that you know you can rely on them. I find in my job now that I tend to gravitate towards working with other athletes, whether they be women or men. They're often women who just get it. They get that you need to do your best for your team. It's not about you. It's not about sitting in your office and doing a good job for yourself and thinking people are going to pat you on the back, but supporting everybody and doing the best you can because you're a group, you're a unit, and you have that bond with each other. So I think the biggest part about leadership is just really doing your best and showing people they can count on you so that they want you to be able to count on them.
That's awesome. Thank you, Karen. I know I feel like we should clap, but I'm not sure. It's kind of that awkward moment, so we'll clap. That awkward moment. So, Dana, the next question I have is for you. So you guys listen to these numbers. Your first Olympics was 2004, is that right? So anyone in the room 16 years old? Okay. When Dana was 16, she was in the Olympics. Now, that's impressive, right? Now, fast forward 10 years. She's now married, has a child, and she's in the Olympics again in 2016. One of the most amazing things about that is not only that that breaks barriers of people thinking that they need to sacrifice motherhood or relationships in order to be successful at something. That's not always the case. But what's a monster idea about that is that your athletic ability right now is a model for which you can carry throughout your life. And so you can swim, run, play basketball, soccer from the time you start as a young woman all the way into your adulthood. You don't really have to stop your sport. So Dana, if you could just talk maybe a little bit about the investment in your sport early. You made the transition from an Olympic athlete to how your sport still helps you today.
So I was actually in my first competition when I was 4. I swam summer league until I was 11, and then I transitioned to year-round swimming, where I swam 2 hours in the morning before school. It was 45 minutes away from my house, so my parents also made that commitment that they would get up, help me with breakfast, drive me 45 minutes. I'd swim for 2 hours, drive me 45 minutes back home, go to school, and then we would do it again. And afternoon practice is 2.5 hours long. So I learned a lot about getting my homework done in the car, naps in the car, meals in the car. It was a commitment not only from me, but a huge commitment for my parents. And my mom was the main one that drove. And let me tell you, she was really happy when I turned 16 and I could drive myself to morning practice. Taking on that commitment, like we said in the previous question, it's a big investment, and you want to give it your all. And just like Becky said, like, we're not all at highs all the time. And I'll tell you, as a 7-time Olympic medalist, I also have lows. I have days where that alarm clock goes off and I by no means want to get up and go to practice. We all have them. We all have horrible practices. It's about what you do in those moments that I think sets you up on the athlete that you're going to become. And what I've always said is if I'm having a bad day, the whole day doesn't need to be bad. I can get better at something. Maybe my aerobic capacity that day for some reason is just really low. I can have perfect turns. I can have really good technique that day. It doesn't have to all fall apart. You can become a better athlete at something. That's kind of what I've set my goal for my whole career is, you know, people talk about making big goals. And I'm all about that. Set your dreams at the Olympics. But you gotta realize that there's a lot of time from now, even until 2020, until 2028, 2024, whatever Olympic goal you have, that you have to break that down. Not only do you need yearly goals, you need monthly goals, and you need daily goals. And I think that's what keeps you on track to have a successful career and helps keep you going when you're in those lows. And a daily goal of mine is to get better at something. And I feel like as a swimmer, as an athlete, if I'm getting better at something and pushing myself to get better, then I'm still on that path to my end goal. And one thing that I love talking to girls about is that you are always training. So I want everyone to think about their posture right now. Here we go. So in swimming, right, we all talk about like body line, and when you get tired, what happens? You fall apart. If you sit like this all the time in school, you carry your backpack like this, you're training yourself that when you're tired, that's what your body does. So I'm going to remind you guys a couple times while we're here, but posture. Being in the Olympics in 2004, being 16 years old was absolutely incredible. It was a crazy whirlwind. I was on a relay with Natalie Coughlin. You guys don't know who Natalie? Okay, good. And literally, we were so far ahead. We got the gold medal, and I'm so overwhelmed. Like, we just broke the world record and got a gold medal. Like, how do you act with that? And I watch videos, and it's literally like every 5 seconds, whatever Natalie does, I do. You'll see Natalie going, woo! And then 5 seconds later, woo! Standing on the podium and being able to see my parents in the stands and knowing everything that they had sacrificed, as well as myself, to stand up there and have one of these placed around your neck. And to have made it all the way to 2016, through those lows, through those highs, completely different circumstances. In 2012, I had graduated college. My whole focus was training and the Olympics, and I had taken on a health approach, and to go and win 3 gold medals, to be at such a high, and then to think I was done, to step away, to have my first son, and realize that I love this sport. And I wanted to be back in it, and who says that I can't with the little child? I wanted to get back in shape. I knew how to do it. I know how to eat well. I know how to prioritize. With a child, it's a little hard to prioritize sleep, but you do the best you can, and I put my mind to it and worked really hard and focused. When I'm in practice, I'm extremely focused when I'm in practice. When I'm out of practice, you can focus on whatever I want, but when you're in training, be incredibly focused, get it done. You're there, you might as well work hard and be there. So, look, big goals, little goals, and we all have highs and lows.
And do you still swim?
I do still swim. I swim with the Cal Berkeley team still. There's always a limbo phase after an Olympics of how do I remotivate myself now for 2020? Do I want to do this again? Do I make that time commitment, that effort commitment? I now have 2 little ones. I have a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. And, it's all about a juggling act and keeping my family happy and me happy and my husband happy and just really enjoying the journey. And more so than the Olympics, I've learned a lot and loved the journey to get there. So we'll see about 2020.
Thank you. Karen, you talked a little bit about how you kind of delved into a lot of different sports and tried a lot of different things, raced here in Manhattan, got a lot of wonderful opportunities that way. Not everybody goes on to the Olympics, but what are some of the things and skills that you learned as an athlete through those experiences that really developed your personality that you still use today?
So right, not everyone goes on to the Olympics. It's such an incredible journey. Wow, I'm like kind of like a fangirl moment here. It's really, really cool. So I grew up watching sports too, watching women win and lose, and like you said, there's so much you actually learn from losing that you take with you. And what you learn in team sports it's just the work, right? Sometimes you have, whether you have 2 matches, you have 2 games, 3 games, and you learn how to push yourself and you learn how to be there for other people. And I think that for me, being in this now, I mean, I just came off of a campaign. So for about a year, I'd say at least 8 months, I was campaigning. That was an everyday, like, uphill struggle. It wasn't just the flights of stairs I was taking every single day up and down, but it was pushing yourself to try to talk to and meet as many people as possible. And I think it's about stamina, it's endurance, it's about knowing yourself. I think it's also the kind of the language that you use as an athlete. So I would be on multiple panels and multiple debates with my opponents, of course. And someone said, so who do you think is going to win the Preakness? Now, I said, I don't know anything about horses. I was guessing that that's what the Preakness was. I've seen it on TV. I said, I don't know anything about horses, but what I do know is I know how to crash the boards, follow my shot, and go hard in the paint. That's what you learn in basketball, and that's what I brought into every single thing that I've ever done. Whether it's working in a nonprofit, I've worked in the private sector, and I've worked in government. So for me, the team, it's all about the team. Even now, sure, I'm Carlina Rivera, I'm the councilwoman, my name is on everything. I sign like 100 pieces of paper a day, and the buck stops with me. But if my team is not happy, if my team is not producing, if they don't feel good about themselves, about going home and getting a good night's sleep, I am only as good as my team. It is just how it is, and I think in this sector and in those sectors of whatever you do. So, I mean, that's what I brought with me. It was really just having someone, a coach is like a mentor. They're going to be your mentor in many ways, and you're going to find this person throughout your life in whatever program who's going to be able to teach you life lessons and push you and encourage you. You're going to need that in whatever you do. So, you know, government, city council is a different kind of game, right? You still need to play defense, and you still need to play offense. And you still need to know your opponent. So whether that's a policy issue, or whether that's someone who wants to engage with you in a debate, you really have to know your stuff. And it's also about being strategic and just mapping out what your next play is. There's short-term and there's long-term goals, and I've used that throughout my career. So I would say I think I was a better candidate because I was an athlete. I think I knew how to talk to people. I knew the value of being one versus being a team. And I know that people respect me because I'm an athlete. I do stand tall. I use that in every room that I walk into. And I'm proud because as a woman playing ball and now being in government where again we are underrepresented, standing tall and being confident in yourself and your ability, that's going to take you everywhere.
Awesome, thank you. All over the world. Did you have, in your years of sport, over time, is there one match that stands out, one launch successful in your academics and sports from a young age, and then carry that into the workplace? Does anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. One, I think, it was mentioned earlier about the study that Ernst Young did with ESPN about the fact that, when you look at women's C-suite, over 90% participated in some level of sport. So at any level, even, as elementary school or middle school or high school. So I think the fact that being involved with sports and the fundamentals that you learn from it, whether you go on and play in college or beyond, it's almost irrelevant in terms of the growth and potential of your future career, right? I love the NCAA commercial that says, almost nearly every athlete's going to go pro in something else. So I think it's just I think the what you learn from, the things we've heard, teaming, hard work, the ability to focus, prioritization, the ability to sort of, lose gracefully and figure out how to take your next step and refocus or re-energize yourself or figure out how you overcome the challenge that you're facing right now. So I think all those things are so important, and it's why everything that you guys are doing right now, even if you did nothing else beyond what you've done right now, is amazing and is setting you guys up for such success in your future. I will say the one thing that sticks out is a story that when you get into corporate America, which is pretty boring, there's a lot of events where you have to have icebreakers or funny stories or things like that, or funny moment about yourself. So I always tell this story. in college, we would have a spring break trip to Hilton Head every year. And a lot of the colleges from the Northeast, where it's freezing in March, would go there so we could play. We didn't have the advantages of the Florida schools that could just play outside all the time, you know? So we'd go down there, and there'd be a lot of matches set up with teams you would traditionally play. So one particular day, we had a match. I can't even remember the school, but we got there. The other bus had a bunch of guys on it. I kind of looked at it. And it turned out our coach had somehow inadvertently scheduled us against a men's team from a college instead of a women's team. So the coaches kind of went away and had a long chat about it, came back and said, we decided we would just play. And I would like to say I was the only woman that won my match, I guess. That's it. So I always bring that up now, you know, years ago. We did come up with some funny story rehearsal. But in all seriousness, I just think the impact that sports has had, whether it was, you know, I played softball and basketball in high school, and even now I've taken up golfing. The power of what you learn there is, I think, something that can't be replicated in other arenas. I'm very passionate about sport. I think it's really amazing, especially for women. So I'm thrilled to see so many of you, you know, here and involved and dedicated to what you're doing.
Thank you. Allie is, I think I can relate to some of the things she does, because her athleticism, of course, is constantly pounding on her body, so that can be kind of punishing, but you also have to carry on a professional component. And you also have this pressure of people looking at you to perform, and under the spotlight, I would say. That's across the board for athletes. They have pressure, whatever it is, whether it's the personal goals that they set for themselves, the pressure of recovering day after day as an athlete, or the pressure of your performance itself. How do you handle that? What have you found that works for you to sort of ease that stress or pressure?
So yeah, a lot of the things that I do is always televised. There's always a camera around, whether that is at Peloton, you have 4 cameras in the room and it's broadcasted live across the country, or in front of 18,000 people, 41 home games, plus playoffs and preseasons at the Barclays Center for the Brooklyn Nets. A lot of what I do, or I'm hosting a moderating panels, I do feel the pressure. Even as a dancer, when I toured with Beyonce or Pitbull, it was one of those things where growing up, I actually enjoyed it. But right before you go out, whether that's on the pitch, whether that's on the court, whether that's on the stage, or whether that's in front of a camera for an interview, and as athletes, you have to get comfortable with that media training and being in front of media. One of the things that I always think about, I used to ask myself, am I nervous? And the answer was yes. And I always say, in the back of my head, I'm like, good job. Because when you're nervous, you really care. You care so much that you want to do well. So instead of taking that nervousness and freaking out about it, like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you know what? I'm the best at what I do, because no one knows what I'm about to do, not even me sometimes. And then I've also practiced for this. I've practiced as I grew to be a host, I practiced in my bathroom. I would go with my girlfriend, and we discussed, what are you wearing tomorrow? And I would look in the mirror, and this is me hosting in front of everyone. What are you wearing tomorrow? Are you bringing something for lunch? And I would take those opportunities to practice before I went out there. And those are tactics that I still use to this day. Am I nervous? Right when I was in that room, I got on stage, I sat down, I saw everyone's beautiful face. It's like, am I nervous? I said yes, and I said, right, great job, let's do this. Because no one knows what I'm about to do or say except me, and sometimes I don't even know how far that goes. So with the pressures of having to perform, you want to use those nerves. That's a great thing to have. If anyone on your team says, no, they're not nervous, I would kind of question that a little bit. And it's not nerves where you have to be freaking out visibly, like sweating and going through all these emotions. It's like those subtle nerves that just make you present in the moment, where you have to take a few deep breaths, where you have to tap into that, the words of your coach or your training, or tap into that technique. Those are the opportunities where you have the ability to excel, and not only just it's about the win, but surprise yourself. And also, one other thing I would talk about in pressure that has helped me is I often try to reflect my life. All of you are stars in some capacities. Your mom's a star, your dad's a star, you're a star, even your little doggy or turtle or whatever is a star in their own right. And what I mean by reflecting that light is we all have something special about us. You're a star in your own way, you have something unique. You're not like your girlfriend next to you, to the right or to the left. In that same moment of that light that you have, you want to be a part of the team, and I know everyone talks about being a part of the team, but one of the things, no matter if you're the best person on the team or quote unquote not the best person on that team, if you can reflect your light on someone else that's on your team, it goes a long way in making you better. It goes a long way in you refining who you are, because you become more comfortable. And people up. So if there's someone on your team that didn't do well, or just walking into practice and you don't know who's having that day, you don't know who's going through anything, and you just say, hey, what's up, how you doing? Like really quickly, someone new comes in the middle of the season, you know how that is sometimes. It's uncomfortable for that person. Saying, hey, my name is Allie Love, yeah, that's my real last name, I just came to say hi and welcome, I don't feel comfortable. Like, it really goes a long way, so take that light that you have, take that's your responsibility, especially as an athlete, as a human, as a woman, as a young girl. Reflect that light on someone every single day. Not just during competition, not just during season. It's every day when you walk in somewhere. And that makes you more comfortable, makes you relax a little bit more, and it makes you navigate and deviate from the extreme pressure of having to be perfect. I'd rather you be real than be perfect any day, my girl.
What I thought was is for them to kind of reflect and maybe go back to their own lives, their own selves at the age you guys are. So at anywhere between 12 to 17 years old, you could go back and tell fifth graders, do you know what? It's going to be fine. Once you get into middle school, it's not as scary as you think it's going to be right now. It's going to be fine when you get there. They're going to be friends. You're going to have fun, right? You kind of give them some advice. But they didn't know before you told them, because we don't know what we don't know until we know we didn't know it, right? Wait, does that make sense?
Yes.
We don't know what we don't know until we know we didn't know it. So, this is advice that they would give to you, but they're really looking back on their own lives and would have told themselves this. For me, I think my advice is to never give up. There's going to be hard times, there's going to be good times, there's going to seem times that something doesn't seem possible. And what to never give up means doesn't mean that you bang your head against the wall until you make it happen. It means that you don't give up. If the road splits and one way didn't work, you go back to the other point and you just take the other route. If you get to a point where it doesn't seem to work, you can surrender, but you don't give up because you go around another way and take another approach. So my advice to myself when I was, in middle school would have been, don't give up. If chemistry seems difficult, just keep going. If, I didn't win the cross-country meet, or I got a slower time than I wanted to, I didn't give up, I didn't get discouraged, I just continued on and looked for the next opportunity. So that's my piece of advice. I'm gonna, let's start again maybe and come all the way forward. Does that work?
Well, I thought that was great advice. It's really important to get up. You fall down, you get up. You might have a scar, you might have a bruise, but just get up and try to pick somebody else up along the way. I think that lifting people up is going to be something that you're going to be able to use in every part of your life. I would also say don't shy away from being competitive. I remember around your age, I was going to participate in a relay race against my girlfriends, my friends. And I knew I was the fastest one. But I told them, I said, so what are we going to do? How are we going to plan this out? She's like, you come in first, or should I come in first? And one of them said, oh, I'll come in first. And so I'm running. This is so silly, but this is like real life. So I'm running, and I'm winning. I'm like leaps ahead. And I stop just so she can pass me. One, because I keep my word. And she said and I told her she was going to be first. But I think back to that moment again and again and again. I should have ran the race, and I just should have won. And now that I'm doing this, and being competitive is okay. Don't hurt anyone along the way. Don't be mean. Because I also got to where I am being very, very nice. But it's also a lot of hard work, especially if you're a woman of color. People try to discredit you, they'll try to take credit away from you. Remember how hard you work to get where you are, and it's okay to be competitive. People said I had a very, very good chance of winning my race. But in my head, every day I thought, I must be losing. I worked so hard. I had 4 other opponents, okay? And you all know how an election works, you gotta get the most votes. So in a 5-way race, I got 61% of the vote. That is not by accident, and no one handed that to me. That's because I was extremely competitive the entire time, and I busted my behind. Whether it was knocking on thousands and thousands of doors, whether it was preparing for a debate, or whether it's just knowing my community, that was, I think, what got me to this point of success so far. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to lots of rewarding and challenging moments in my life. But I would say is don't shy away from being competitive. And if you lose, you just get up and you try again.
So one thing I've learned that I would remind myself, my younger self, for you guys, is you hear a lot, love what you do, and you have to love it. And I think that love of whatever it is looks different for each and every one of us. It's not a universal, I just love swimming all the time. There are certain things that I love about swimming. I love when your head's underwater and you can't hear anything and it's really a meditative, quiet, awesome place, or when you're in a pool and the sun shines through and that you see the sunbeams like glistening off the water. I love yelling "Go Bears!" I'm from Cal Berkeley, yelling "Go Bears!" in the gutter and having your teammates echo it down the lane. It's not all about I love the grind and the pain, and you know, some people are like that and they're very intense people in practice. But to really have a soul-searching moment to where you think about what you love about what you do and why you love it, and really, really embrace that. And I feel like that gets you through the nerves, it gets you through the lows, if you keep that focus on what you love.
I think one thing I would have told myself is to not worry about being so perfect. I think, you know, to be more open to failure and more open, therefore, to trying things. I think at that point I was always, you know, trying to be the best at this, and the best at that, and the best at everything. And in the end, you might miss out on some opportunities. I think it's important to try, you know, as you mentioned, a bunch of different sports, things that maybe you're not trying to be good at, you just want to have the experience of doing it. I think that's really important and can help you grow. I think the one other thing to add to that is I think also not to be so worried about everyone around you, what they're thinking, what they think about what you're doing, and so on. You know, I think about that, how it relates to my current life, and you know, I work in a male-dominated industry, also in finance. And if I was always worried about every move and how it's going to, you know, it's just, you can't waste your time. Do what you feel comfortable and passionate about. Try some stuff. If you fail, so what? You know, you've learned something, you've had a different experience, and you've always learned from it. I think sometimes you kind of like hang on to like this with I call it white knuckling. You're like, white knuckling, like I just got to get through this and do it and so on. I think a lot of growth comes from just trying things and maybe not being great at it. That's okay.
I would tell you that when I moved from Massachusetts to Florida, I joined the team for the first time in my life. It was just a life-changing experience for me. I was really, really awkward as a child. I grew up with two older brothers. We lived in really rural Massachusetts, so there weren't like any other kids around us, so I just kind of hung out with my brothers and played boy games, you know. So then when I got to join this group of girls on my first team, we had a reunion 2 years ago, and we were joking, we went around the room and everybody said, what was the one word you would use to describe each person around the room? And when it came to me, it was awkward, so it kind of gives you an idea. And so my parents were pretty strict, you know, and so when I went to college and played on a women's team, which was the first real competitive team I played on, I was a really serious player, and there were some people on my team that weren't as serious. And I feel like I spent my entire freshman year thinking, like, who raised these people and what are they thinking? Like, and I was so judgmental. Like, everything to me was black and white. Like, I cannot believe she's doing this. But the regret I have is that I didn't try to like change anyone. Like, oh, you're not committed, and that was like me. You're not committed. Like, I don't want to deal with you. Instead of like, why don't I try to help someone get more love for the game or become more committed. I just didn't want to have anything to do with you if you weren't serious about it. And I really regret that. I think I was a really bad teammate. And I think that's the advice I would give myself now is, the world isn't black and white, it's really gray, and people have different experiences, and to be on a team is so awesome because, think of your life now. You spend most of it on the phone, right? You're on Snapchat, you're on Instagram, whatever you're on. And so a team forces you to have real interaction with a person, and with people you don't like sometimes too, right? Because I don't know, maybe you guys love all your teammates. I loved a lot of them, but I didn't love all of them. And I had to find ways to be able to deal with a really diverse group of people. And I think that's something that now as a coach, of course, I've coached a widely diverse group of people, and it's really helped me to grow, to understand that it's not about judging them. I have this little saying in my mind I use it all the time. Get curious, not furious. So when something makes me I can't believe she did that, instead of thinking that, I'm trying well, why is she doing that? And I try to understand as opposed to judging. And that's the advice I would give myself at that age.
So I can't believe I made it this far without anybody giving my advice. I would give my teenage self the advice that the world is a much bigger place than you currently think it is. And you play your sport and you do well in whatever it is that you do, and you feel pretty confident in that. But there are lots of people out there that are doing that, and you always want to strive to be your best every day. So even if you're the one that's winning the race repeatedly, you're always the line leader at practice, you're always successful in this stage of your life, there's a huge world out there of people that are successful as well. And you can't stop pushing yourself just because right now I think I'm pretty good. So I remember, in the little town in Pennsylvania that I grew up in, we won the county championship, we won the district championship, we got our butts kicked when we went to state. But then I got to college and it was hard. It was I was at the end of the bench. I was playing a position I'd never played before because that's where they needed me. And I was miserable. And I didn't see it coming. Because it just came naturally and it was easy in high school and in junior high school. But there are a lot of people out there that are really good, and at the end of the day, it's going to make you be a better you, to keep that in mind and not get complacent with who you are. And that's not just about sports, it's about life too. I mean, I'm at a great law firm, I think one of the best law firms in the world, and I'm surrounded by amazing attorneys, and I can't let my game down ever. There's always someone out there that's going to be pushing me along and wanting me to be better, that I see as a better lawyer than me. So my advice to myself back then would be, just open your mind up a little bit and think beyond the bubble that you're in and push yourself to be the best you, regardless of whether you're looking around and you think, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Keep working.
So really quickly, one of the things I had the great opportunity of almost dying when I was 9 years old. So right before your age, I got hit by a car and almost died. And that was one of the best experiences that I would relive that moment if I had the choice. The reason I say that is because it afforded me the opportunity to know what it feels like to almost die, to lose my life, the most important thing. And from that moment on, it gave me the luxury of recognizing that I only have one life to live and I might as well live it to the fullest. So going back to your age, I had another surgery. This is right before I started dancing way later, and I was a late bloomer for everything. And so I didn't become an athlete until about the age of 14 because I had to get another surgery on my hip to make sure I could continue my life. And then I eventually became a runner. But one of the things I would tell myself after that surgery is to not get so caught up in being perfect. So, and not get caught up in what you don't have. And what I mean by that is you look at our friend and she has really nice hair, and I have this big curly afro. And you look at this other girl, she has these amazing shoes, and she has the best products, everything that she needed for dancing, and she was the best, and I'm sure you can relate to this. You look at the girls that have the best of everything, and you're like, well, my mom said this is fine, so I guess it's okay. And it's not getting caught up with what you don't have, or who you're not, or who you don't look like. It's getting adamant about being who you are and finding out who that is and continuing to grow. And what I mean by that isn't just all of a sudden you can recognize, oh my goodness, I love this is what I like.
it's one of those things where you just need to recognize that this person is different, and whatever you have right now, and however you look, and whatever you're going through is right. It is right for you, and it's going to make you be a better woman eventually, and it's a part of your story, and it's going to be the fabric that's going to thread the story of your life. So I would say that that's something I would tell myself at the age of 14 after my second surgery, was just like, don't get caught up in what you don't have, or having to be perfect. Just be really cool with who you are that way.
Awesome. As we close, I just want to say thank you for your attention. I would encourage you to sort of ponder or think a little bit about how lucky you are. I'm looking out and I'm seeing so many beautiful faces, and I'm seeing so many bright futures. And you have, while sometimes it seems a little tricky to be growing up and you may not like everything as it is, to turn it around and look at how fortunate you are to be living in the most beautiful city in the world, one of the best schools in Manhattan, and so many other wonderful blessings that you have in your life, and to seize that opportunity and to seize what you have in front of you, and remember gratitude, and thank those who are making those opportunities available to you, because everything is right in front of you, including these wonderful panels. Let's give them one more round of applause.